What's up, you guys? This is Devin with CFX Studios TV, back with another video. And in my last video, I was pretty much responding to a video that came up about camera exposure and skin tones as it affects different scenes in your image. Now, this is my second response to this video, and this response is going to be a little bit more in depth. So if you did not see the first video, you need to go check the first video out, so it'll explain what's happening in this video, because I'm going to use some terminology that you might not be familiar with, or you might not understand where they come from. So you want to go ahead and look at that other video to understand this video. Now, another thing that happened in this video was lighting ratios. Lighting ratios is something that photographers deal with all the time, even if they don't know that they're dealing with them. Lighting ratios is essentially a term that we use to dictate how much one light source is illuminating the scene versus another light source illuminating something in the scene or your subject in the scene. Now, for example, I have a light off to this angle right here, but I also have a light behind me. The light behind me is illuminating a backdrop 5 feet away, or no, not 5 feet away, maybe like 2 feet away, 1 foot away. But that light all the way over here is more like 10 feet away from me. Now, this light is more powerful, but it's farther away. So by the time it hits me, the subject, it's less powerful than the light behind me, even though the light behind me is not powered that strong. It's because it doesn't take that long for the light to hit the subject, therefore it doesn't take that much power. Also, you have to understand that the light ratio, the light that's coming from this big light source will hit me, but it needs a lot more power because it needs to be stronger on my face than this light back here on the background. So you need to have a powerful enough light, but it also has to flood the scene to do what it's doing. There's no light on this side of me. This is the shadow side of me. This is my right, your left. This is my right, your left, and I have the key light on my left, your right. And this, I want to say, duality of highlight to shadow is what cinematographers, photographers deal with all the time when they're taking pictures. Now, when you're a sports photographer, you don't really have control over it, but you always want to look for it. If you're an advanced photographer, you're looking for it already. You know, if you're an advanced filmmaker, you're looking for this light to shadow play already. If you're not, welcome to the world of advanced photography and cinema, where you're looking for the highlights and the shadows and you're measuring your camera for them. Now let's go back to the explaining the universe video where you see the young lady and they're it looks like a person is holding a little sash of different colors under her. Well, this is important to understand where the light is falling, when the light is falling there, because the background is very, very dark in reference to the actual person itself. Now, if that entire room was lit with the same amount of light, it would change how the camera sees the scene in some cases. Now, depending, if the light is well balanced throughout the room, the camera won't really struggle and you won't really see a lot of, I want to say, exposure changes throughout your video. But if you're in a bright situation, say for example, you're in a heavy sunlit situation and your subject or your foreground is very, very dark, well, the camera's going to have a hard time understanding what you need to be lit because the majority of the scene is very, very bright. And you're going to be stressing those three exposure triangle elements: your shutter speed, your ISO, and your aperture. And it's going to be hard to balance it without some other type of light source. Now, as you can see in this video, and it's on my TV screen, so I'm pointing this way. But as you can see in this video is very, very front lit. There's a lot of darkness in the background, but it's very, very front lit. So it's putting that camera in a very, very challenging situation. Bright brights and dark darks. It wants to make everything go to the middle. So when you add another element, it goes crazy because it's so close to the light source. But if that background was illuminated as much as the foreground, it wouldn't shift as dramatically. But this was perfect for their scene because they were proving a point that the camera does shift and it will change your skin tones based on what exposure it thinks it automatically should change your exposure to. Now, anybody who's taken portraits or anybody who's photographed a person that might be, very, very bright in skin complexion or dark in skin complexion. They understand these differences because it will affect the prints, it will affect the final image. And this doesn't just go for photography, but this also goes for video. So the next time you film, the next time you take your camera out to a situation that has very, very dark darks and very, very bright brights, understand the direction of light, understand the quality of light, and understand how this affects your camera's meter, and how you go about exporting your product and the validity of how everything looks. Most people don't argue with it because they just assume the camera is always right, and it's not always right. Try to take your camera into manual mode every once in a while, or if you have a cell phone, iPhone, Samsung, Android, put it in pro mode if you can, and start utilizing the exposure triangle to get a more consistent exposure so you'll know what you're trying to get out of camera. I'm Devin with CFXTV. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next video.